and welcome to episode 62 of Stitched in Sweden. I'm Maria, and you can find me on Ravelry as mmonska and on Instagram as Stitched in Sweden. Today I thought I would come by and talk to you a little bit about what I've been working on the past couple weeks. I have two main knitting projects that I've been working on and a couple of different sewing projects and a little bit of yarn and fabric acquisition. So let's get started with what I am knitting. The main project that I have knit this past couple weeks is the Boho blush shawl, which is a pattern from Andrea Mowry, and I was working on this last time, and I'm still working on it because it is a huge shawl. It takes 250 grams of yarn. So far I have probably used around 150, I would say, because I'm on my second ball and this is how much I have left. But this is a semicircular shawl, so the rows right now are quite long. I think, let's see, I'm around, probably 430 stitches or something on the needles at the moment. And here it is. So you can see that it alternates between these garter stitch sections, this brioche part here, and then there's this lace section as well, and that's pretty much it. This is upside down, obviously, but not that it matters so much because it's basically a massive shawl that even if I wasn't in the middle of the row, you wouldn't be able to see very easily. So yeah, I'm enjoying knitting on this. It's easy just to pick up and see where you are, basically. So it's a good project to have on the go, and not on the go, literally. I don't bring knitting with me, typically, like knitting on the train or anything like that, most of the time, because I have pretty short time periods that I'm on the train with a lot of transfers, so it doesn't make sense really to bring knitting, and I'm almost always traveling during the busiest times, so that means standing or, just there's too many people. So yeah, this is in Frida Fuchs yarn, her 4-ply fingering, and this is a color that starts with an S that is a name for a poppy, but you'll see it if you check out her page. The other project that I have knit this week, I just have part of it here to show, and that is the second little bunny friend for the first little guy that I made. So this is the first one. He was finished last time, a little tail. And so now I'm working on the second one, and maybe now you can see the difference in the color slightly. This one is a little bit more oatmeal, and this one is a slight pink color. I don't know why both of them have one ear that tilts. It must be how I sew it on. Anyway, this is a pattern from Julie Williams, I think, and it's her bunny pattern. So there's a couple of different ones. One of them has a patch on the face, and I did not do that. But I have both the boy and the girl bunny because I want to make the little sweater that comes with the boy bunny and a little dress for the girl bunny. So I do have the other body parts, but they just are flat body parts. I don't know. I guess I can show you what they look like. Maybe it's interesting. Here are some of the, this is the body. So all of these are knit flat. I talked about this last time, that I really enjoyed this construction because it made it a lot less fiddly because you weren't having to work a small diameter project in the round. This is the foot. And here's the tail. It's tiny. This is the smallest piece, but so I just need to sew these up and stuff them and attach them to this little guy, this little girl. And then I am going to pick out some yarn scraps to make some clothes for those guys. And hopefully I will have them done by next week. So, yes. I'll probably just share a finished picture of them on Instagram. I might not have them here for the next episode. So, we'll see about that. Okay, so that's all that I have been knitting. I have really been focusing a lot on sewing this week, and I am really enjoying that. Before I talk about sewing, I'll just show you, I got 3 skeins of yarn in the mail this week from Gregoria Fibers, and she is a yarn dyer in Spain, I believe, and she dyes her yarn with natural dyes. Here's her tag, and her website is gregoriafibers.com, and I purchased 3 yarns. One of them, I'm not sure, the only one I know for sure is the cashmere one, because it's the softest, and that's this one, which is an 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon, and it's naturally dyed with plant-based dyes, and she doesn't have colors names. She just has numbers. So this one is number 35, and I really like this. It has really similar colors. Actually, pretty much everything is in the same color scheme this week. It has really similar colors as the yarn I'm using for my Boho blush. But there's, some nice pinky purples in here, some yellows and oranges with little flecks of brown, and then also some kind of navy flecks in here. So it's really amazing that she can get this range of colors and speckled with natural dyes, I think. So that's the first one. This is the cashmere one. Really lovely. I think it will be some part of a nice shawl or something. Then I have this one, which I think is the sustainable merino one. And this has some more blues and turquoise kind of in it. Also a pop of yellowish green almost. Lighter kind of pastel colors. And I think that one's really pretty too. Finally, we have one which is very similar to my Boho blush color, and I think this one is the merino fingering. But it's definitely, all of her yarns, especially the cashmere one and this one, are pretty plump. So the cashmere one has 350 meters for 100 grams, whereas usually I think typical fingering weight yarn is more like the sustainable merino one, which has 400 meters per 100 grams, so it's a bit thinner. And then this merino one has 300 meters, so I would say personally this is more like a sport for me. But it looks pretty thin too, so I don't know. You could probably knit up as either, depending on how tight or loose of needles that you use. But it has some nice browns in it too, and a little bit of the kind of gray slate navy color in there too. So, really pretty, and they look really nice together. I don't know if I'll knit them together, but there they are. So these were my yarn purchases this week. I did buy a little bit of fabric that came, I don't think I had it last time. One of the pieces of fabric has already been sewn up into something, which I'll show you. And this is the other one. So I ordered 2¼ meters of jersey, each in each color. It's called Cortell jersey in Swedish, and I think it's Ponte de Roma, or I don't know how you say it. But it's basically a heavy weight or medium weight jersey fabric. And it has a little bit of a different texture. It's not, it looks a little bit more like a grid rather than, like, my shirt is a knit jersey. And this, like, I can more pick out the tiny knit stitches that look similar to, like, these knit stitches, if you know what I mean. And this one looks a little bit more like a grid, like just, yeah, like woven almost, but I don't know if it's woven. I really don't know. I don't know a whole lot about fabrics, so. Anyway, I ordered this on Stuff and Steel, which is, they have a website in Swedish, here's the name, Swedish and Norwegian, Danish, and there's also a UK site that's in English. So it came really quick because it was from Sweden, and that was nice because I could start right away. And I basically ordered 2¼ meters of this natural ivory color cream jersey, and then also a navy. And I'll show you a piece of the navy. Here it is. So you can see you see how the folds, it has like some body to it compared to just a super lightweight jersey, which would, I don't know, drape differently. So I purchased this to make the Colette Moneta, which is this dress pattern. And it comes in a couple different versions. I opted for the, well, I'll just show you. I opted for long sleeves, which was not in the pattern, but was an easy adjustment to make. I made long sleeves, and I used the pattern comes with 3/4 length sleeves, short sleeves, or a sleeveless option. Instructions for those and the patterns for those. And I opted for long sleeves because I have one 3/4 length sleeve dress that I often wear to work, and I'm always trying to find a cardigan that works with it, and I'm freezing. And I just really have wanted a long sleeve dress for a long time. So I thought this was perfect. Because also this is a little bit of a heavier weight fabric that I just thought it worked well with this fabric pattern combination to have long sleeves. So I decided to just make a normal, by normal I mean no collar thing on the, like it has on the pattern. There's a couple of different neck patterns that you can, there's like some free neck ideas that you can download. But I just liked the smooth, clean neckline. And in this version, I think in all of the versions, but you could change this up, the front neckline is actually slightly higher than the back. So you can see that I have lined the bodice with a lightweight black jersey. And part of the reason for doing that is so that you can get this just really nice clean edge. And I didn't iron it perfectly before I showed you, but when it's on, it sits really nicely and you can't see the lining at all because it's tucked under and you like cut off, and 1/8 of an inch from the neckline of the lining so that it goes towards the inside rather than the outside. For the sleeves, the way that I adjusted them was basically you could just go from the 3/4 length sleeve and continue in the same sort of angle down to make the long sleeves. I have the Netty bodysuit dress pattern from Closet Case Files, I think that's what it's called. And that has long sleeves in it. So I took my pattern piece from that pattern for the long sleeve and laid it over my 3/4 length sleeve for the Colette Moneta, and I just used that to trace a new long sleeve that had the same shoulder shape as the pattern for the Moneta, but the length of the Netty sleeve. You could basically just make it up, but I didn't know, like, I could have just measured my arm, you know, all these things, but since I already had that pattern, I just knew that that length would be good, and so I thought it would be easy just to trace that. So that's what I did. And it fits really well. I will be wearing it to work tomorrow, and I've been wanting to wear it all weekend, but I wanted to save it for work. And it is one that, it's a dress pattern that I can definitely see making, like, so many more and just having this be kind of a standard dress in my wardrobe. I think depending on the fabric that you make it in, it can really change a lot. So this one is, like I said, a pretty heavy, medium weight jersey, and to me that makes it feel a little bit more wintry or fall, but since I'm in Sweden, can definitely carry it through the spring. And I think also because, like, depending also what color you make it in, you could make it a lighter color and then it would be, you know, it's like, whatever. You could do so many different things, so many different sleeve options, you can do different necklines and stuff like that, and that will also change it up. So, this one has a gathered skirt, that is the style in the pattern. And then it just has a little turned over hem. I did this whole thing on my standard sewing machine. I do not have a serger. So it's definitely possible to do that. And it's no, I used to have this idea in my head that you couldn't sew with knits unless you had a serger, but it's really easy. You just have to have the right needle, and I have been using a jersey needle, and that works perfectly. So I ordered 2 1/4 yards or meters of the navy fabric, and because that's what it suggested in the pattern, and I had so much left over. I think because I'm a good Tetris pattern arranger when I cut things out, but also because in general I make the smallest or second smallest size, but even then they have still suggestions for each size how much fabric you need. So I think they're just being super generous and got cautious with their recommendation for the fabric because they wouldn't want you to run out, I guess. But I have a ton left over. So basically what I'm going to do is I have cut out a 3/4 length sleeve bodice and sleeves, and then I'm going to attach this little peplum onto it, so it will be a little, peplum shirt. And I have, like, self-drafted or whatever. It was really easy. There's lots of tutorials online. Self-drafted this little pattern, which is a half circle skirt. I have another piece that matches this over there. So instead of being gathered at the waist like the Moneta pattern is, it will just attach with a smooth line and then flow into a more open skirt from there. And I'm sort of practicing this idea for another project, which will be what I make with this white creamy color. And that is going to be I don't know if I talked about this before, but I'm going to make a, like, getaway dress, so, slash brunch dress. So, when I leave our wedding location, which is a little ways away from, the house, then I don't want to drive in the car with my wedding dress on, because, first of all, I don't think it would really fit easily in the car, and, like, you know, cars are dirty and blah blah blah, whatever. I want to have something more comfortable and easier to move around in, to change into, so I'm planning on making a moneta dress in that fabric with 3/4 length sleeves, but maybe 3/4 length here instead of the peplum top I'll make will have 3/4 right above the elbow. But so about this length sleeve with the white. And then I will use the moneta bodice. I think I'll have a high top neck, and then I will make a scoop neck, scoop back, a little bit more scoopy. And then I will have the half circle skirt, which will be knee length, not 9 inches or whatever this one is. But I just wanted to see, like, how this skirt style attached to the bodice looked, so I thought, perfect, try it out in the peplum top, and then I can see how that works, and do that for my real dress, whatever. But, yeah, so I'm excited to do that because I am just so happy with how the moneta turned out. I think it's definitely my #1 outer garment that I've ever sewn, and by that I mean, like, I'm very satisfied with the bras that I have sewn, but yeah, not so many people see those. Anyway, I have not successfully made very many sewn garments that I wear every day, and so it was really just really satisfying and nice to have made the moneta, and first try it fits perfectly, and I want to make a million more. So, speaking of fit, I was wearing my Molly top that I made last week. I was wearing that on my episode, and I was talking about how it was a little bit tight and, like, pulling funny on the sleeve, and I needed to figure out a way to fix that. So I talked to my friend, and she suggested that if I had some seam allowance to take out, which I did, if you could see, I have, I think it might have been, yeah, 1.5 centimeters, it looks like 1.5 centimeters, so 5/8 of an inch of seam allowance on the inside. She said, if you have any seam allowance, you know, just sew a new curve in the underarm so that you have a little more space there, and take out the stitches. So that's what I did, and it worked pretty darn well. So you can see, since I haven't washed it yet, you can still see a little bit, maybe, there. You see the line from the previous stitching here, and then, I don't know what that black lint dot is. And then you can see my new stitch line, which is much closer to the edge of the fabric. And that gives me about an extra, I would say 3/8 of an inch times 2. So 3/8 of an inch on each side, almost, maybe slightly less. But that was enough really just to give myself a little more room in the shoulders so that it doesn't pull nearly as much. Even though it still does slightly, it's not a noticeable thing that I'm, like, constantly kind of feeling that I need to adjust it. So that was a success, and I think that this is another top, which once I made that little change, and I will probably make, add a little bit more fabric there even the next time I make it, like, in my actual pattern, so that I cut it out with a little more fabric there for that curve. But yeah, once I got that little fit issue fixed, this is another pattern that I can see myself making a lot of, especially because it was just so simple to make. This has 3 pieces, the front, the back, and the neck, which is like, it's just so easy. Like, if you want to try sewing, this is definitely a top that you can make. It's really simple. Because you don't have to, on this one you don't have to worry about setting in the sleeves, which is part of the reason why maybe it doesn't fit quite as well. Because most shirts maybe have this, set in sleeve thing here. But once I added that little room, now it fits great. So, yeah, definitely try it out if you are interested in giving sewing a try. This is a very sewing heavy episode, so but that's how it is. And sometimes I think my knitting is definitely a little bit more seasonal, and I tend to focus more on sewing in the summer or warmer months. Not that it's warm here yet, but it is getting a little bit sunnier, and I'm starting to think about my spring wardrobe and things like that. So last year in the summer was when I first started making bras, and that was, I wasn't knitting very much in the summer either, so that just is kind of a pattern that I'm used to in my making now. The last thing that I worked on this weekend was the first muslin for my Elizalex. I don't know how you say this, but it's like the names Eliza and Alex squished into one. And this is a pattern from By Hand London, which is an independent designer of sewing patterns. And I pretty much have been obsessed with this dress for a long time. And they came out with the original version of it, which I guess had a lot of problems with it, because the dress is basically a fitted bodice with princess sleeves, princess seams, and then there's a sleeveless, long sleeve, and short sleeve version of it. I guess in the first version, which I was reading about last night, they had a lot of problems with it because they used the same bodice pattern for the sleeveless version and for the sleeved versions, and that was just really problematic. I'm not really sure why. I'm not very knowledgeable about sewing in that way. But it has a scoop back also, and that was causing a lot of problems with the sleeves falling off and the bodice fitting, and it was just problematic. Also, the skirt part, like the tulip, called a tulip skirt on the dress, was more like a bubble before. It was really, like, it's still pretty extreme, like rounded and tulip shaped in this version, but in the other one, it was really bubbly. So they took some feedback from their customers and have revamped it so that they have a separate bodice for the sleeveless version compared to the other versions. Blah, blah, blah. Whatever. Probably don't care. The point is that around the time when I got my sewing machine, was it last year or the year before? Last year, it must have been. I got my sewing machine from Thomas, and right around then is when I remembered that dress that I've always wanted to sew. And I thought, okay, I should give it a go. But then the pattern was unavailable because they had taken it away while they made these adjustments for the new version, and it wasn't clear, or I didn't read far enough that that there would be a new version, so I just thought, oh my gosh, I missed my chance, this pattern is gone. They have a new version of it. I don't know when it came out, probably like a while ago, but anyway, the point is, I made my muslin for it yesterday, and it's like not super easy to tell, but I think it fits perfectly, which is very satisfying because I often have a problem, sorry, it's like really dorky with my shirt underneath it, but I don't care. I often have the problem that on dresses the neck gapes, or I think because I have a small bust size, which is, I think I have a small bust size compared to my shoulder or rib cage size, maybe. I'm not sure. Like, I think it's pretty normal. But what is normal, you know? So, I do find, though, that maybe other patterns that are in woven fabrics, so not jersey fabrics where it stretches and it doesn't matter, that they are often, like, I have extra fabric here and it's gaping and it's problematic. So, but this one, this is a first try, no alterations, and it's in the back. It's a low back, you can see, and there will be a zipper. And when I had Thomas like pin it up together, and it seemed like it fit well. So it will also have about 5/8 of an inch in on the sleeves here, because I didn't sew it's lined, so there will be a seam allowance which is missing. I mean, well, I can't talk, but it will be more like that. And then the same thing with the neck, that it will be more like that, and it will go down a little bit more. And the main thing was to check that the bust area was fitting nicely, which I think it does, and I'm really excited about this. So I'm planning on making this for my friend's wedding. She's getting married in August, mid-August, about a month before we do, and I'm going to her wedding. Thomas and I are going. It's on Gotland, which is an island in the middle of the Baltic Sea, but it's part of Sweden. And I think this will be a nice dress to wear there. I'm planning on making it in some, I keep going back and forth between a solid color, but then I don't know what color it would be, and more of like a floral print. And that's what I'm leaning towards. I've picked out a couple of fabrics. One which is kind of a yellowish cream, it has an overall large floral design with some creams and yellows and a little bit of like minty and maybe some slight pink, I can't remember exactly, that I really like. But I think I'm going to hold off just a little bit because there's still plenty of time until August, and I imagine that there will be a lot more fabrics coming out with sort of more florally spring, summer patterns. But yeah, it needs to be sort of a medium to heavyweight fabric in order to create this tulip structure in the skirt part. So that is what I'm looking for at the moment, but I'm excited to make that, and I guess I could make two, but I don't know. I think I'm just a little sewing obsessed right now, and I should just chill out a little and maybe make a couple of more t-shirts for the summer and stuff like that. But yeah, sewing is fun, and it's a lot faster than knitting, but I mean, I thoroughly enjoy knitting, and they serve very different purposes for me, because when I sew, it's kind of an individual activity, or like if Thomas and I both kind of want to do our own thing, then I might be sewing and he might be reading, or doing whatever he wants to do. We're like sort of hanging out together doing our own thing. That's usually when I will be sewing. But if we're actually doing something together, like watching a movie, which also is sort of hanging out together but doing whatever. If we're watching a movie together, then I wouldn't be sewing at the same time, obviously. So then that's a perfect time to knit. Also, if I watch podcasts or things like that, then I usually am knitting. But if I'm listening to the radio, then I like to sew. or wash dishes. I don't like to wash dishes, but that's usually what I do when I listen to the radio. Anyway, I think that's it for this week, and next time, I should have a couple more fabrics because some are coming in the mail, which I'm hoping to make some more shirts out of and maybe some more dresses. But until then, I hope that spring is coming to you in full force. It's not here, really, but whatever. At least we have some sunlight today. So until then, happy knitting, happy sewing, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!